everybody, thank you so much for watching. Today's video is going to be a bit of a crochet and a chat. So go put the kettle on, make yourself a nice hot cup of tea or coffee, or maybe even a chai like me. Grab your latest project and let's start having a chin wag. So today I'm going to be working on my granny square blanket, which is a project I started quite a while ago. I actually picked up this original granny square from a thrift store, this one just here. And I worked for a very long time to try and find this variegated yarn, and I managed to find it and track it down. That's it there. So I've been able to start work on my granny square blanket. Now, I did get quite a few rows into this and then have to frog it back again because I wasn't happy with the join that I was using. So I went back and frogged all of it and started it again. So otherwise I would have been a lot more advanced with my blankie. But I'm quite happy with the way it's going so far. And from here, I'm going to do a row of white. So my plan is to do the white, the variegated colour, and then a solid colour from these smaller granny squares that I've put around the original granny square. So I'm going to continue that. So at the moment I'm up to a row of white, then I'm going to go another variegated row, then the next solid colour, which should be yellow, then white, then variegated, then green, and so on and so on. So that's my project for today. So you're going to have to let me know in the comments what you're working on, because I love to hear about all of your projects and all those sorts of things. They always keep me entertained, and I love hearing about what everyone's working on. It's really inspiring. So I just thought it was about time that I had a bit of a chat with you and just tell you a little bit more about my story, about how I came to crochet, about my history and all those sorts of things, just so I can better get to know everybody, and you can ask any questions that you like and pop them down in the comments and I'll get back to you when I can. So originally, let me just turn this around so I can keep working on it. I'll get rid of my stitch marker here and keep going. So some of you already know that I've mentioned in the past that both my mother and my grandmother were knitters, and I loved growing up watching them knit. They were so inspiring. They were always working on something, and they were always super excited to talk to each other about their latest projects. It was so cute. Even as a child, I could see how excited they were. And it's funny because my grandmother I'm referring to is my father's mum and my mum, and they sort of, for whatever reason, as soon as they met, they just clicked straight away, and I'm guessing it's that knitting connection. I'm sure of it, because they just adored each other as soon as they met. And I mean, my parents met when they were like 14 years old, and they've been together ever since. So my mum has known my grandmother for a very long time. It was very sad when she passed away. That was almost 15 years ago now, I think. So we miss her a lot. But their connection over knitting was just so lovely. Even as a child, I recognised that connection, and I could see them bonding so well and getting super excited over their projects. And I really loved that. And I find it sad now that I miss out on that connection with my nan, but I still have that with my mum. So whenever my mum and I get together, we're always, blah, 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 blah. Have you tried this new yarn? Have you tried this? And I imagine it would be very similar to how they were together. And I wish I had some pictures I could show you, because they were just adorable. And they were quite an inspiration for me. So I didn't come to crochet until about 2.5 years ago. So I've always been a very busy person. So I was a single mum at 21. My son was diagnosed with autism when he was 11. Up until then, I'd worked in community services, so I was always very much a people person, and I was always trying to help people. There was one exception to that rule, is that I got one position as a personal assistant to a chief financial officer of a company that was making millions of dollars on the stock exchange and all those sorts of things, and it just didn't fit me. It wasn't the right fit. Business suits and briefcases and all that, it's just not my thing. I did it for about a year or two and just that was enough for me. I just wasn't the right fit. So I went back to community services. And as we progressed with my son, we realised he had autism, and that diagnosis process really brought out something in me that really inspired me to want to work and spend more time in the disability field. So I pivoted my career towards the disability industry and started working with a lot of families and people with disabilities, lots of carers, and I really spent a lot of time working with these people and really getting so much out of it. It's just always been, it felt like that was the career I should have always been in. And I worked really hard on that, and I really enjoyed it. It was as rewarding as it was challenging. But as with everything, you get out what you put in, don't you? So for me, I got a lot of enjoyment out of being able to support people and to help people be understood and to communicate and to finally achieve that independence in their life that they always wanted, and being able to be a step on the ladder of that process for them was just a real honour and a real privilege. So I worked really, really hard, and I think I worked too hard because my brain and my body got to a point where it just said, that's enough. And it just sort of all came to a crushing halt and I ended up in hospital, unfortunately. So that was a very humbling experience for me. I ended up in hospital on and off for a couple of weeks trying to work out what was happening. And essentially what was happening was I suffer from chronic migraine, and I have all of my life. And for some reason, something happened about 2.5 years ago that just pushed that into overdrive, and my brain just shut down completely and I couldn't do anything. So I ended up living in a dark room for weeks and weeks and weeks where I couldn't do any. I literally couldn't lift my head up off the pillow. I'd gone from being a very busy, very independent person, helping others and always being there for everybody else, and then I couldn't do anything for myself. That was a really humbling experience for me. Luckily for me, though, I had the most supportive partner ever, and I will always be grateful for what he did. He took care of me, he took care of the housework, he did all of those things and gave me the time and the space I needed to start to recover. Gradually, I was able to sit up, I was able to put the lights on, I was able to handle some noise. So he set up an Audible account for me so that I could listen to some stories instead of just staring at the walls, which was driving me insane because, as you know, I've always been such a busy person. I was always doing so much and running around and taking care of everybody. So for me to suddenly be in a position to not be able to do anything was really, really difficult to accept, but also a necessary process, I think, that I had to go through. I had to get to that point where I would listen to my body and respect what it was trying to tell me. So gradually I started to get better. I was able to get out of bed. I was able to go into the lounge room. I was able to put the TV on for 15 to 20 minutes at a time, and I was able to do those things and start to get some semblance of a life back. But what was missing was that sense of purpose and that sense of achievement that I was getting from my workplace that I could no longer be part of. So I was desperately looking for something that could occupy my mind and my hands and keep me busy and also give me back that sense of achievement. So I looked at a couple of different hobbies. I jumped on YouTube, believe it or not, and looked at quite a few things. I thought about picking up knitting again because I'd learnt to knit as a child. And there's something about it that I just sort of, for some reason, I didn't want to pick that back up again. I wanted to learn something completely new. So my first attempt was cross stitch, which is a fantastic hobby and really quite a lovely a lovely hobby and a lovely thing to do, to sit down and create these beautiful images with these coloured threads and to weave all those stitches through. It's just stunning. But unfortunately for me, it required way too much concentration on such a tiny little space, and having to look and focus on those little tiny squares and do those little stitches was just way too complicated for me, and it just kept triggering more migraines, which then made me relapse and put me back in bed, and obviously was not the right fit for me. So I looked up a couple of other different hobbies, and the one that really stuck was crochet. So I thought I'd finally found my hobby, and I stuck with it. I watched must have been 30 to 40 different tutorials over a number of weeks to really learn just how to hold the yarn, how to hold the hook, how to chain stitches, and that gaining that sense of knowledge and slowly working it out. All I did for weeks was chain, frog, chain, frog, chain, frog. And I was using just some $2 or $3 arrow hooks from Spotlight, which is like our Joann's or Michael's for anybody overseas. I just ran out and grabbed a few of those and a couple of balls of yarn. I didn't even know what I was working with. I think it might have been acrylic actually. And just kept sitting there chaining and frogging it and chaining it and frogging it, and I really wanted that chain to be absolutely perfect. And then I knew I'd got the hang of it because everything just started to feel comfortable. The yarn didn't feel weird wrapped around my fingers, and the hook didn't feel weird in my hand. I was maneuvering it the right way, and the stitches started to make sense. I started to be able to identify which part of the stitch was the front loop, which was the back loop, which was the back bump, how to work into those stitches, whether you go through both loops, whether you go through one, all those sorts of things. Learning the single crochet, then the half double, then the double crochet, and being able to pick up on all of that and watching that progress was just, it was amazing. Sorry. It was absolutely amazing to have come from a place where I couldn't do anything at all to finally see myself making progress in something new, which I thought was going to be beyond me at that point, because I was still struggling with medication and pain relief and all those sorts of things. So to see that achievement and that progress was just unbelievable, and I was so excited, and I felt like I got to a point where I was just making little appliques, little heart shapes and little stars, and trying to get better at those things, and just feeling out how those stitches sit together, working out my tension, working out all those fundamental basics that you need in place. But even that was just so incredible. It was just mind-blowing, and that experience was just, I hope that each crafter or each person with a hobby has that light bulb moment where everything just sort of fits into place, and you look back from where you started to where you are now and go, oh my goodness, look what I've done. Isn't that amazing? That's incredible. And then being able to share that with others. So to be able to the day I told my mum, that was amazing. I still remember she was sitting out on the couch in the lounge room, and I said, look what I've done, look what I did, look what I can do now. And she was so happy, and she's like, finally, it's finally clicked for you, and it's finally working, and I've been able to pass something down, and you've been able to pick it up, and just, she was so proud, and that made my day. That was just wonderful, and to be able to finally share that with her was just so lovely. So of course I started working on a wearable, my first wearable, and it was a shawl, and I'll put a picture up so that you can see what that looked like. Of course, that was my first gift to my mum, and that was for her 70th birthday, and she still loves it to this day. She'll still wear it. She says it's just the most amazing thing that she owns, and she loves it. And that means the world to me, to see that I can do those things. I can make those things, and I can bring that smile to that person's face just by doing what we do. Like that's just incredible. And I'm so happy that I was able to make her that proud. That was just great. And I actually asked her, do you think Nan would have liked it? And she said she would have loved it. And that made my day. Need a bit of a sip of chai, I think. So that's how I came to crochet. It was just something that just was there for me at a time where I really needed it, and I worked really hard to learn it, and I am so glad I kept pushing. I kept trying, and I kept even the tiniest little semblance of progress kept me going. So that's how I came to crochet. But always in the back of my mind is that period of time where I just couldn't do anything at all, and that experience will always stay with me. And what I wanted to do by setting up this channel and by taking on this experience and going through all of this was to create that community or sense of community that I needed when I was in that space. I didn't have, like, my mum was half an hour away. I wasn't able to talk for too long on the phone or anything like that. So I wasn't able to really communicate a lot with a lot of people. And I felt very isolated and removed from my friends because I couldn't hang out with them anymore. I couldn't go to work. I couldn't send emails because I couldn't be on the computer. All those sorts of things. So I felt very isolated and removed from everybody. Oh, that's nice. And so I wanted to create a community where people that were still in that dark room, in that situation, could feel like there was somebody out there that understood and that could inspire and help give them a sense of community, but also to take them out for the day, to be able to go out on a sunny day and look at the ducks at the lake, to be able to go for a walk to the botanical gardens, to go even just to go thrifting at an op shop, to be able to look at what crafting things are available, what's out there, what sort of projects can we be working on together, what sort of ideas do come to mind when you're watching my videos. I wanted to create that sense of space and that sort of nurturing environment for people that were still stuck in that dark room and not able to communicate or not able to get out to the op shops or to the yarn stores or to go to the local market and see what crafty things are available. And so I wanted to bring that to those people and to provide an avenue for that communication and those questions. And so I guess my channel kind of changed as I went through those experiences. I started off, I didn't want to put my face to the videos because even now to this day I'm very nervous on camera. I don't know if that comes across, but I stumble with my words and I feel very self-conscious when I'm on the screen. But I spoke to my hubby about it and he said if you want to create a sense of community, then they need to be able to connect with you. They need to see your face. So as nervous as I was, I absolutely 100% understood what he was saying and I absolutely agreed with that. So I started putting myself out there and just trying to connect with that side of myself that used to work in the disability field and trying to find a way to bond with you guys and to connect with you all and to provide those experiences. And I kind of thought, well, if it's interesting to me and it's something that myself as a crafter and a hobbyist is interested in, then hopefully it's interesting to you as well. And so I wanted to bring all those experiences to you and to provide you with those opportunities just in case you're one of those people that can't go out, or you do have health issues, or you have social anxiety, or for whatever reason, it might be difficult for you to access. There may not be yarn stores in your area. The op shops or thrift stores in your area might not be great. All those sorts of things. And I just thought, okay, let's make this channel about experiences and provide those options and those opportunities for all sorts of people, no matter where they are, no matter what they're doing, no matter what their situation or their life story. Then let's create that community that I desperately wanted to be a part of when I needed it. So I'm hoping, I hope that comes across to all of you, and that you feel like you're a part of this too, and that these videos are not just something for me, but also something for you as well. So I really hope that you feel that way, and that it connects with you on some level as well. So I've been doing a lot of the chatting side of things and not a lot of the crocheting side of things. It's just dawned on me. So as I said earlier, this is my granny square blanket. I've been working on this for a while and then had to frog so much of it. So I'm kind of back where I started, unfortunately. But I would like to keep working on this amazing blanket. Oh, that reminds me, I have to show you one of my other projects. Hang on, I'll be back in a sec. So this is my latest shawl for my mum. Yet another shawl. So originally I was making this for her birthday present, but I didn't get it finished in time. So it's now going to be a Christmas present, which I don't think she'll mind. So this is an absolutely gorgeous design. I'll just move this granny for a bit. So this design is by Carmen at Annie Design Crochet. I'll put that up on screen for you. And this is her one skein winter ice shawl. And it is lovely. It is so easy. It is a 2-row repeat once you get the foundation set up, and you just continue on with those rows until you're happy with the size of it. Now this might look a little small, but my mum's very tiny, so this will be huge on her, and it's just lovely. I just finished blocking it this morning, but I still have to add some tassels on either end, and also at the bottom down here. So that's why I haven't woven that end in yet, because that's going to be part of a tassel anyway. So there's going to be tassels on the 3 sides, and that's the whole thing. Now this was made with knocked everything over. This Motivera Faith, it's mohair. Hang on. It is 40% acrylic, 30% mohair, and 30% wool. It is stunning. It is a gorgeous colour, and I picked this up at a garage sale recently. So if you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link to the video down in the description below, because there was so much wool and so much yarn in that amazing video. You definitely want to see that one. So I'll pop that back there. And if you're noticing a different backdrop, don't worry, I filmed that too. So I'll share with you how I organised all of my yarn and how I've stored everything so that I can share that with you as well. But I just wanted to share this project because it's just amazing. It's so lovely, and I cannot wait to see her face when she gets this. I think she's going to love it. But I really want to hear about what your projects are. What are you working on now? What are you planning? What are you thinking about? What's the next step for you guys? I'd love to hear all of that. I'd love to hear your stories, and I love to read the comments where you tell me what you're working on, what yarn you're using. Is it something new? Is it something you've done before? Is it a new project that you're trying to challenge yourself with? I love those stories. I love hearing about all of that. It's so inspiring. Need another sip of my tea, I think. Okay, so I'll move this aside and get back to my blankie. So this eventually will be donated once I can get it finished. I've been following a Facebook group called Winter Woolies for Ballarat, which is where I'm located in Victoria in Australia. And Each year they pick a different charity to support, and they collect donations all year round. So they've chosen their charity for next year, and I think what I'm going to do is take this granny square blanket once it's completed, and I'll add it to the pile of blankets that I've been collecting from local thrift stores, and I'll donate all of it to Winter Woolies for Ballarat. I'll put their group details down in the description below in case you're also somewhere local and you'd like to contribute as well, but don't feel like it's absolutely necessary. You don't have to do it. It's completely up to you. But I just really appreciate being able to do these things. So that's my story, that's my background, that's where I'm coming from, that's how I found crochet and what it means to me. I'd love to hear your stories. I'd love to hear how you came to crochet. Were you taught crochet by a family member or a friend as a child? Have you been crocheting for many, many years? Is it something new that you've just recently picked up, or is it something that you haven't picked up yet but you're looking to get started? I did have a friend of my son actually request some lessons as a beginner, so to learn all those crucial basic stitches and all those fundamental skills, how to identify a stitch, how to hold your yarn, all those sorts of things. And she's asked me to create a series of videos for her so that she can learn how to do this. And I am absolutely thrilled and completely honoured to do that for her and for anybody else that's looking to learn. So keep an eye out for those videos. I will be working on them soon. As I said, I've also got a video coming out in the next couple of days actually, based on how I've organised my yarn and how I've stored all of my things, so keep an eye out for that one as well. And no doubt there'll be another op shop or two, I imagine. It's not me if I'm not out poking around at the local thrift stores looking for some sort of treasure, is it? Thank you so much for joining me today, guys. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to listen to my story. If there's any questions that you have, or you'd like more information about anything I've said today, by all means, please leave a comment down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you for working on your projects with me. I hope you enjoyed your cup of tea, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.